back to today's video. So today I'm going to be breaking it down for my in-depth foundation routine. Now, disclaimer up front, if you're looking for that no makeup look or a tinted moisturizer, maybe this might not be the video for you, but if you want to get rid of these age spots and these freckles and make that complexion a little bit more seamless, you've come to the right spot. So please subscribe and let's get started. So before we get started, we're going to talk a little bit about skincare. Now, skincare in the morning, skincare at night is very important, especially if you have mature skin. I hate that word. I'm going to invent another word for that because I just don't like it. But your makeup's only going to look as good as your skin does underneath it, right? So sunscreen, if you're going outside, I do like this one by Supergoop. It is called the Glow Screen. It does have a little bit of glow to it, so if you're not crazy about that, then we will just have to find another one besides this one. Make sure you put your sunscreen on. So moisturizing your face is also important. I just started using this Honey Halo from Pharmacy, which it's got this little cute little dipper on the top. I've only been using it for a couple of days, but I do really like it. Just make sure that your skin is moisturized and that you take care of it and put some sunscreen on it before you go outside. And skincare is very important. So first we're going to jump into priming. It's very important to use a primer. I know some people believe in it, some people don't. I kind of go either way. Sometimes I do prime, sometimes I don't, depending on where I'm going. But today we're going to go in with the Tatcha primer. So this is more like a pore filling primer. I don't use it all over the skin. I just use it in the pore areas right here around my nose to fill in. And it does have that like slick silicone-y feel. So if you're not crazy about that, just beware. Sometimes I'll put it right between here, maybe to fill up some of these fine lines, and then a little bit around the outside. But you can go with whatever primer you feel comfortable with. Just make sure if you have oily skin, you're going with one that works better with oily skin, and the same for as dry skin. So first step that I always do, since I do have the freckles and the sunspots, since nobody told me to stay out of the sun when I was younger, this is what happens, people. I had freckles anyway, but then they just turned into something that I don't really care for, and they're not as cute anymore. So we're going to go in and we're going to cover up some of these freckles. So when I go in to cover up some of these dark spots on my face, I like to use a peach or a pink tinted concealer. One of the really good ones that I like recently is the Milani. This one right here. It's a drugstore, so it's really affordable. I also, one of my favorites is the Color Canvas. This is by Hank and Henry. So this can be used as concealer. It can be used as eyeshadow base. There's different colors in this, so this one's really good. This is the one we're going to use today. So I just take my finger and I go in. This one's thick, so depending on how much coverage you need, just be aware of how much that you use. We're going to put this right underneath the eyes as well. And if you hear my son screaming in the background, he's playing Fortnite, so just ignore. We're going to come down here and cover this up. And it's got a little bit of a pink tint to it, so it works at covering up the freckles and dark spots. I'm going to go in with just a beauty blender and we're going to blend that out. Now, my trick is you don't really have to blend it out completely all of the way. You want to kind of leave coverage to it. So, and your foundation is going to go over it. So you don't have to completely blend it out all the way. So as you can tell, this is pretty covered up my freckles pretty well. You can kind of see a little bit of it coming through, but that's okay because we're going to go over it with foundation. I kind of take what's left over on the sponge and run it over my nose, over my chin, just to give a little bit more coverage. I don't put anything on my eyes just yet because I will do that after we do concealer. So now we're going to go in with the foundation. So because I prefer a full coverage foundation, I usually use full coverage foundation. So I have the Urban Decay Allnighter, and then I also use the Huda Beauty foundation right here as well. So I do mix these two together. You don't have to, it's totally high maintenance, but I like the coverage of both. One of them's a little bit too dark, one of them's a little bit too light, so I mix them together. I put them on the back of my hand, use the sponge to apply it over the face. This is actually a brand new one. I haven't even used it yet, so we got to get the pump going. Oh, there we go. So I just put a little bit on the back of my hand, about that much. Come on, camera. Focus. There we go. And I'll go in with my sponge, and we're just going to start applying it. All right, so we've got that mostly blended out. Make sure that you take it down the neck, especially during the winter time when you haven't been out in the sun. I have a little bit of a tan on, but it's starting to wear off. And then you also want to get a little bit over the ears. I know that's strange. And if you wear your hair up, you want to get a little bit behind your neck so you don't have that line where you can see makeup and no makeup. So, and as you can tell, I have left the eyelids alone. I do this because I am a little bit older. I do have more crinkly eyelids, as we call it. And if I put concealer, foundation, powder, and all of that stuff on my eyelids, it gets really crinkly here in the inner corner. So I do put concealer on my eyelids, but it's like kind of what's left over on my sponge, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So next we're going to go in with concealer. You can use any kind of concealer. I like to use full coverage. This is the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. I use the Tarte Shape Tape as well. So this is here. I'm just making sure my camera's focusing over here. We're going to go in and put this on now. There's a little bit of a debate as to older women and what they use, as how they use their concealer. You can do whatever suits you. I'm a full coverage girl, so I like a lot of coverage. Because I hear a lot of people go, if you're old, don't do the triangle, don't do this. Who makes the rules, people? If you know what I mean. I put a little bit here. Some here. Down the nose. And like I said, this is the way I do my full coverage foundation. You can tailor it to your individual personal needs. And I'm not a professional makeup artist. I did go to makeup school a little bit, but I don't work as a professional makeup artist. I just love makeup. And I just like to share my things, especially with older women who don't feel comfortable wearing a whole lot of makeup, because that's like the rules. The more you get older, less is better. I don't always think less is better. So we're just going to go in and blend with the same sponge. Alright, so we've got that concealer blended out. So now is when I take what's left over on my beauty sponge and I just slightly run it over those eyelids, and I'm very careful about how much I get in this inner corner. You want to get it covered so you can make a even canvas for when you apply your eyeshadow, but just be careful, especially if you're older. And I like to take the end of the sponge and kind of get in that inner corner to make sure I don't have a whole lot of product there. So now we've got our foundation on and our concealer. So at this time I like to go in and cream bronze / contour. This can be a step that you totally can skip. Like I said, I like a lot of makeup, so I like the way this gives my face a little bit of warmth. If you're a little afraid of using cream products, you just have to go for it. Try it. So I had bought this Huda Beauty. This is the Tantour Cream Bronzer, and it's in the color Fair. I've already gone through one of them, and that tells you how much I like them. So I go in and warm the face up. I just take it's kind of a stiff, fluffy brush. This is the Tatcha brush by Hank & Henry. And we're just going to go in. And it'll look kind of scary at first, but trust the process. So you're going to start right here at the tip of your ear, and you're just going to kind of bring it down. The further you bring it down, the more of that chiseled look that you're going to get. So just be aware. I like to bring mine down a little bit further here. And then I go in and place it on the forehead. I know it looks like a lot, but it blends out so easily. And depending on where I'm going, if I have enough time, I'm just going to take what's left over on the brush, and we're going to chisel out that turkey neck, that neckline that we all start to lose as we get older. So I'm going to take the same beauty blender and use it and go in and blend this area out. As you can see, it blends out very easily. And when you're doing the cheeks, you don't want to pull down, you want to press it upwards, because you definitely don't want to misplace that bronzer and bring it way down. You want it to stay right there in the hollows of the cheeks. So next we're going to go in and set the foundation. This is one of the most important steps I find to make your makeup last all day long. I always get a lot of questions is, how do you keep your makeup on? One, I set it with a powder. Two, I don't touch it. And I know, like, even before COVID started, like, I didn't touch my face. And so that's how I always keep my makeup on, like resting your hand on your face or touching your eyes or stuff like that. If you make a habit of not touching your face, then your makeup will actually stay on longer, believe it or not. So I'm going to go in with the HD Flawless Setting Powder. One of my friends used this on me. You can get it from Amazon. I'm assuming the company is Absolute New York. I'm not 100% positive. It does have a yellow banana finish to it. Because my skin tone does have a yellow undertone to it, it can handle it. But you want to use a translucent powder. And I just put it on the sponge like this. Now you have to be careful. If you have very dry skin, I would recommend going in with a pressed powder and just using like a big fluffy brush like this to go in and dust it all over the face. This can give you a cakey look if you're too heavy-handed or if your skin is too dry. I will go in and spray it with a rose water and it helps kind of melt everything together. But since I have oily skin, my face can handle this much powder. So I can just hear the critics now. You don't need that much powder under your eyes. But you know what? You do you. That is what I have learned. So I set this first and then I leave it while I go in and just set the rest of my face. Now this sponge is damp. I do recommend using a damp sponge because it will get in there and press that loose powder into your skin and set it for the rest of the day. Always hard when you got the blonde hair. And then I go in under my eyes last and over my lids. I put a lot on my nose. I am a nurse, so I do wear a mask 12 hours a day. It's not going to stop the makeup from coming off, but it will help. Alright, so the foundation is set. We're going to go into the next step. Now this step can be... It's very important to me, and I always find that a lot of older women kind of skip this step. Bronzer will bring life back into your face. It's going to bring dimension to your face. So now my face is very flat. Like there's no dimension, there's no depth or anything, like if the sun is hitting it in a certain spot. So bronzer is very important to use. Even if you're an older person, I always say bronzer, a little bit of blush, a little bit of mascara, and you're good to go. But I find that a lot of older women just like to wear the foundation and they don't put the warmth in their face. So then that gives you like that pasty, cakey look with just a little bit of blush. So I'm going to go in and use, this is the BH Cosmetics palette, and this is the Belgian Waffle palette. Really good price. You can get this at Ulta. I go in and I mix these two bronzers right here. So a bronzer is going to have more of a orangey tone, and a contour is going to have more of a cooler tone. And when I say orange, don't let that distract you. It's just going to be a little bit more orange in color than the contour, because the contour, you want it to cause shadows on your face. So I'm going to go in with a big fluffy brush. This is the Sandra brush by Hank and Henry. And I'm just going to mix these two colors together. And we're just going to warm the face up. Now this bronzer is not really pigmented, but I like it because you can build it up. You don't have to be scared of it. So if you're not used to using a bronzer, this is really good to start off with. As to oppose, like I have the NARS Laguna bronzer, and it can be very intimidating at first. I like to kind of put my hand right here, especially if you have lighter color hair, to keep it from getting in your hair, but sometimes it's just inevitable. I take it on the chin and then down the neck over all of these freckles. So you see how it just warms the face up. Sometimes when my concealer is a little bit too light underneath my eyes, I will take kind of what's left over on the brush and just kind of do it like this. And sometimes down the nose, because the sun hits your nose, right? Especially if you go outside, what's going to get burned first? Usually your nose. So you just want this kind of where the sun would hit. So I always go around the perimeter of the face and then underneath the jawline. So now we're going to go in and contour. This can totally also be an optional step. I like the look of it, and this is what I usually do for my makeup routine. So I'm just going to stick with the story. That's what we're doing. I go in with the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I do know that this company no longer exists. They do have the KVD Beauty, which blows my mind why they didn't change the initials, but whatever. I don't know if this is available anymore, but you can get a contour palette. But you see how these browns at the bottom are a little bit more cool tone. So we're going to go in with these, and I'm going to go in with this angled brush from Morphe, and we're just going to dab in. I like to take it and just stamp. And it will be a little scary at first. You're going to be like, oh my God, you just put a big brown streak on your face. It will blend out, and it will give you that more chiseled look. And if you don't like this one, you can just totally skip the step. So now we're going to go in with blush. Now I love blush. I do. The only thing about it is it disappears on my face quickly. So if you find that you put your makeup on, you get done and you're like, what happened to my blush? It tends to do that. So a little bit more heavy-handed than you think. Every time I put my blush on, I'm like, whoa, you got a little bit out of hand. But then after I finish my makeup, it tends to calm down. So we're going to go in. This is one of the Jaclyn Hill's new palettes. This is Rouge Romance. And so we're going to use Dainty and Admirer. So these two colors right here on the bottom. Right there. Right there. So we're just going to go in with the blush brush, and we are going to put some blush on these cheeks. So I'm going to use, this is the Hank & Henry Francis brush. And I'm just going to go right here in circular motions, a little bit above the apple of my cheek. Now, I've always been told, put the blush on the apples of your cheek. Smile and put the blush on the apples of your cheek. Then someday somebody said, well, when you're not smiling, the blush looks like it's below the apples of your cheek. So I thought, well, that's a really good point. See, smiling, apples, you don't smile, it drops down. So I put it a little bit above the apples, and I like to carry it up the temple as well. Kind of made a lot more sense to me, and I was like, why has nobody ever told me that? And I like to put a little bit on the nose, just like that. So we've got some blush. You can also use cream blush as well. I do love cream blushes. One of my favorite cream blushes, if you know me, is the Hank & Henry Bebe Rosa cream blush, which I was going to pull it out and show it to you. Where it at? There we go. So this is the cream blush from Hank & Henry. I know it's a little bit dirty, but I use it a lot. And this is the color. Come on, camera, focus. It's giving me a hard time. Why is it giving me a hard time? There we go. And it has like, it almost has like a blush highlight type texture to it. It's really pretty. I love it. Let's just use it. We'll just put a little bit on. So I'm going to go in with the Trish brush from Hank & Henry. And we're going to go in and we're just going to put some of this. And what's good about this cream blush is you can actually put it over top of a powder. And it just gives you that little extra zhuzh. A lot of cream blushes you can't put over top of powder, but this one you actually can. I know it's a lot. Remember I said it's a lot. It will die down, I promise. And another one of my most important steps that I think a lot of people miss is after I get my foundation and everything set, before I put my highlighter on, I like to use some rose water spray. And I know a lot of people are like, why you spray water on your face after you put makeup on? This is going to kind of set the foundation, the creams, and the powders together so they don't look so cakey. So you just take it and spray it. And then I take my sponge and I go in just to make sure, depending on what product you use, the sprayer can be really good or really crappy, and it can leave little water droplets on your face. So I just take my sponge and press it in just like that, and there we go. And those are really cheap. They're like $8 to $12 depending on the size. So now that my face is a little bit damp, I will go in with my highlighter. So one of my favorites is Jaclyn Hill. This is the iced highlighter, and this is the color right here. I just take a little fluffy brush, brush it on the cheeks a little bit. I'm careful about how much highlighter I put on my cheeks. Sometimes it tends to accentuate the hollows of my eyes right there, so I like to carry it right there on the end of my brows. A little bit on the lip, a little bit on the nose, like that. So there you have it. There is my in-depth foundation routine. This is what I do every single time. If I'm going to work, if I'm going to the movies, if I'm going to go out, I will do this foundation routine. And then depending on what activity I'm going to be doing, depends on what I do with my eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my eyebrows and my eye makeup, and then I will be right back. Alright, so this is the final look. So I used the Going Coconuts palette from ColourPop to create the eye look. If you guys are interested in a tutorial on that, I do already have a YouTube video that teaches you how to do this eye look with the Go and Coconuts palette. I just put a little nude lip, some mascara on, a little hairspray, and we are done. So I hope you got something out of this video. I always love to learn new things, especially as you're getting older and you have to kind of tailor things to your skin type to make sure that everything looks the way that you want it to. If you guys have any requests or anything that you would like to see, just let me know down in the comments. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.